RJ, when should I quit my job to go full time into wholesaling real estate? I get asked this question all the time, and I've been getting asked this question for years now at this point. And up until this point, I've never really had a firm answer because my go to is always, I'm probably not the person you want to ask this question to, because my question or my answer normally was yesterday, because that's my personality. Now, here's what I'm going to say to this. If you look at all of the other major decisions in your lifetime as an adult that you need to make, when's the right time to have kids? When's the right time to get married? When's the right time to buy a house? But majority of the time, when you go to make these life-changing decisions, you're actually not prepared for those life-changing moments, right? Very rarely are you actually ready to have kids because you don't even know what it's like to have kids. Same thing with getting married or purchasing a house or a car or anything like that. These are big life-changing moments. It's the same thing when it comes to when should you quit a job to go full-time into becoming an entrepreneur and specifically into wholesaling real estate. One of the things I will say that you need to decide before you make this decision is, do you really love wholesaling real estate? Is it what you think it is? See, most people want to make this decision based around some financial goal or amount of transactions or proof of concept. But in reality, what I want you to actually focus on is, do you really want this to be your career path moving forward? Because what I've seen over the past decade, and specifically over the past 5 years of coaching literally thousands of people in wholesaling real estate, is the majority of people will fail in wholesaling because they realize it's not what they wanted to do with their careers. They didn't enjoy the lead generation and the talking to sellers and the analyzing deals and the talking to buyers and overcoming the title issues. That was not a passion of theirs. And so they gave up on the dream of wholesaling real estate to go do something else. Very rarely is it because they could not succeed at it, right? They couldn't actually get deals and they couldn't close and they couldn't make money. By nature, wholesaling real estate is a pretty simple business in comparison to all of the other businesses out there that you could choose to run, right? I mean, we make really good money on these transactions for not having to be a trained professional, right? We don't have to go get a license. We're not heavily regulated. Yeah, there's regulations coming down in different states and whatnot, but quite frankly, this is still the wild, wild west, and you don't have to have any sort of formal training to do this. So the barrier to entry is very low, and the actual actions of finding a discounted property, specifically with how simple lead generation is today, and with all of the systems in place, it's pretty simple. So when should you do that? This should be more based around, is this something that I want to do for my career? So if you're working the 9 to 5 or a job right now and you're wondering when should you quit, I think the proof of concept should be you going out and doing enough transactions and saying, is that what I want to do every single day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever hours you're going to dedicate for the rest of my career? If it's no, then you probably shouldn't quit your job. If it's yes, then I think now you need to look at the next phase of making that decision. And that is, am I willing to make a temporary sacrifice financially, mentally, to become successful at wholesaling? And I think the only way you could truly do that is by making the jump to quit your job to go full time in the wholesaling. I see people do this for years on end where they're not willing to quit that job, and they question why they're not seeing the success. Well, if you just take a short sample of what I show you guys live, which is the 50-50-50, right? Go back to 2023. Now, the results were astronomical. However, going into that, I'm 8 years into my wholesaling career. I already have operating capital, and I have experience in how to talk to sellers and how to dispo these deals and overcome title issues, right? Some of the biggest things that you need to have. Okay, but that's me going live for 50 days straight for 8 hours a day. There was multiple upon multiple days there where I would call, there was no answers, I get my teeth kicked in, and it was difficult to get results on some of those days. Now, there was other days like Rhode Island where every single call basically was a banger of a call, and it led to a positive result. That was not the case, and it could not be the case if you're only willing to dedicate 2, 3, 4 hours a day because you're working a job. The other thing is you only have a certain amount of energy and mental bandwidth when you're working 40, 50 hours a week in a job, and then you're coming in, you're not giving 100% to your wholesale dream. So to me, it's about, hey, if you prove to yourself that this is what you want to do, then at some point in time, you have to place the bet on yourself and go all in on that dream. Otherwise, you're always going to be sitting there and saying, if this, then that, right? If this happens, then I'll go all in. Well, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to make the if I close this many deals, if I get to the point where I'm basically making as much money a year in wholesaling as I am in my job, well, that's really hard because you're working an entire year full time in that job, and yet you're giving part-time effort and energy into wholesaling and hoping to replace that. That's really difficult to do. And so you see a lot of people never making the jump, never deciding to quit their job. I look back, listen, I've quit basically 2 times in my life. And that was Pizza Hut. I dedicated 8 years to that, and I worked my way up from being a high school senior, being a delivery driver, all the way up to being promoted to a shift manager, to an assistant manager, and having my own restaurant as a general manager. And I quit that without really having a backup plan because I knew that this is not what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I was not going to achieve my dreams. So I placed a bet on myself by quitting. And then the next time I did that was when I became an entrepreneur and I started my own business, and I dedicated everything into being the best contractor that I could possibly be. All of the branding and the marketing, and everyone in my life knew that I was a contractor, and we became really good at remodels and kitchens, bathrooms, anything that you needed. We learned that skill to do that. And then when I found out about wholesaling, what I did was in August of 2014, I went to training to learn how to wholesale real estate. And immediately I went out and I got a property under contract in Arlington, Texas, and I wholesaled it for $7,500. And then from August of 2014 through December of 2014, I wholesaled 3 more properties. So through 2014, I had 4 completed wholesale properties. And what I learned is that's what I want to do. I don't want to do contracting. I was not happy. This is very similar to where you might be in your job right now. You might not be happy with what you're doing in your job. It's not the career path that you want to take. And so you're looking at wholesaling. So what I did was I had a proof of concept through those 4 transactions. While I wasn't giving 100% effort to wholesaling at the time, what I did learn is that's what I want to do with my career. And so come January 1st, 2015, I made the decision that we're shutting down the contracting, everything that I had worked for as an entrepreneur at that point, we shut down to go full-time and 100% into wholesaling. and it was the best decision that I've ever made. Now, the 4 deals was enough proof of concept for me to make that leap of faith into wholesaling. That might not be enough for you. Maybe you need to do 15, 20, 25 transactions, whatever that is. You need to write that down. Make it a tangible, like, how do I know that this is what I want to do? And when you're bought in and you have proven to yourself, like, that's what I want to do, you have to place a bet on yourself and say, not only is it what I want to do, but it's going to be what I do. When else are you going to make that decision? You can't buy back the time that you're losing by going to that job continuously. And you might be saying, RJ, I have kids. So did I. I had a 2-year-old. Okay? It's your job to go out and perform for yourself and for your family. It's a responsibility that you have to yourself to at least give yourself the opportunity to achieve the dreams and create that reality that you want for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, dude, I wasted 3, 4, 5 years saying I want to be a full-time wholesaler. That's what I want to do. That you're dedicating your time and your existence to someone else's dreams and business. You're never going to get that back. So prove the concept to yourself and then place that bet on yourself and quit the job and go create that reality that you want. Like I said at the beginning, I might not be the best person to answer this because I'm always going to place that bet on myself. I'm always going to say, this is what I want. And no one is going to look at me at the end of my days and say, did you do everything that you want? And I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say I absolutely did. Every single day I wake up grateful for the opportunity to wholesale real estate. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach everyone about wholesaling real estate. Why? Because it changed my life. And the only reason why it changed my life is because I placed that bet on myself and I shut down the contracting company. And I said, this is what I want to do. And this is what I'm going to do. The question is, are you going to make the same decision? Or are you going to continue working for someone else's dreams?